Very good morning to you and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Chimobi Walter Naji. Here is the details. Abducted Kankara schoolboys released 1 week after ordeal. Arrived Katsina. National Economic Council expresses alarm over spike in Nigeria's COVID-19 dailies. Senate considers maternal mortality bill to reverse alarming death rates. Many thanks for being with us. Now, reports just reaching to the studios indicate that 344 abducted Kankara schoolboys have now arrived in Katsina State. And the Katsina State Governor, Aminu Bello Masari, has confirmed the release of abducted schoolboys from Government Science Secondary School, Kankara. The governor disclosed this while speaking via Zoom on NTA Network News earlier Thursday night.
4 of the students have been handed over to security agency. I think we have recovered most of the boys, it's not all of them. So we are making arrangement to transport them to this night.
Will the children be released to their parents immediately, Your Excellency?
Of course, immediately after medical examination, we'll release them to their parents.
Okay, tell us, Your Excellency, what is your government thinking of doing next, to secure the people, and what lessons have been learned from this very ugly experience?
Well, in the first place, all our boarding schools, we have fenced them and secured them. But what it means now, before school resumes, we must make sure working with the police and the other security agencies that sufficient armed security are posted to schools. In addition, on our own part, we are going to increase the number of the private security that we employ in each school to make sure that we don't experience what we have experienced in the last 6 days. Certainly, again, we are going to work with the communities that live around the schools to form another outfit of security that will help security agencies in the school and within the school premises to make sure that all is quiet and normal.
Now, in regards to this success already recorded at the moment, what support did you get, from other states and agencies, towards this success recorded?
I think the security agencies, they have done very well. Earlier in the operation, where the children were being kept was discovered, and the whole area was secured and cordoned off by security agencies with the instruction that they should notify a single shop, because we have already established an indirect contact to try to make sure that we secure the release of the children unharmed. We did not advise the security to use any firearms so that there wouldn't be any collateral damage. We thank God that they took our advice and not a single shot was fired. And so far, all the children have been recovered alive.
All right, and more information on the whereabouts of the abducted boys will come your way in the course of this bulletin. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari is reassuring the nation that his administration will not leave anything to chance until all Nigerians still in captivity in parts of the country regain freedom and reunited with their families, while the Boko Haram insurgency and other acts of criminality brought to a halt. The president stated this while speaking to NTA State House correspondent Adamu Sambu shortly after the release of the abducted students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State.
We thank God that the law enforcement agencies, in this case especially the military, the army, and the governor worked extremely hard. And as soon as they got them, the governor rang me and informed me, and I congratulated him and the army that organized the operation and so on.
How do you personally feel about this development?
The military is well trained. I think they are sufficiently motivated. The governor, I'm very impressed with the governor. He has been, up and doing since it happened. And I congratulated him that the children have been successfully recovered.
There are many Nigerians still in captivity across the country. Is there any hope that they will soon be released?
Well, we are doing our best. Remember when we closed the borders? We found out that still, somehow, the terrorists or the abductors still get weapons and ammunition. They still take people hostages. They are collecting millions of naira. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and some of the things we may not say. I don't want to compromise the security and the efforts being put by the law enforcement agencies. But really, we are acutely aware of our responsibilities. Our responsibility is to secure the country. So we have a lot of work to do.
What message do you have to the armed forces and other security services in the country in view of the recurring incidents of kidnapping and other acts of terrorism in parts of the country?
Well, armed forces know their job. I meet them. We have security meetings from time to time. They must be very clear of my instructions. Their efforts is not good enough for me. Our responsibility, as I said, is to secure this country for all the citizens to do their businesses without any problem. We haven't achieved that yet, but we'll keep on trying.
What can you assure Nigerians going forward as you continue to execute your mandate?
I will continue to be loyal to this country. I have asked for this mandate. I got it. I must not advance any excuse for failing to perform. But the insecurity, I'm extremely worried about it, and I hope next year it will be different. Those among the law enforcement agencies that remain in charge will be extremely busy.
Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you very much.
And away from security matters now, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC) has announced 1,145 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The latest figures released are the highest so far, and they are bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 76,207 infections in the country. A breakdown of the latest figures indicates that the new cases from 24 states, and Lagos is taking the lead with the highest number for the day, having 459 new cases, while FCT has 145 new cases. Others are Kaduna with 138, Plateau 80, Katsina 70, Gombe 52, Niger has 31, Kano 23, and Bayelsa recorded 21 new cases, while Bauchi and Ondo states have 18 new cases each. Rivers 17, Ogun and Oyo states have 12 new cases each. Edo and Nasarawa states recorded 8 new cases each. Ebonyi has 7, Osun 6, Ekiti and Kebbi states have 5 new cases each. Borno has 4, Jigawa 3, and Akwa Ibom recorded 2 new cases. The day's tally is completed by Anambra State recording 1 new case. Confirmed cases by state, Lagos has the highest number with 25,895, followed by the FCT with 9,053 cases. And Kaduna comes third with 4,236 cases. With the latest development, total number of active cases stands at 7,896, while 67,110 cases have been successfully treated and discharged, and an unfortunate 1,201 patients have lost their lives. The nation may have to go into another round of lockdown, going by the increasing wave of cases of COVID-19 pandemic. Though this is not on the list of measures being considered by members of the National Economic Council, NEC, the council, however, expressed alarm at the spike in COVID-19 cases in Nigeria and decided to act on the strict enforcement of measures to contain the spread of the disease across the country. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports on the National Economic Council virtual meeting, which held this Thursday.
The National Economic Council received a briefing on the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria and notes with serious concern the increasing number of cases in many states across the country. Sadly, as the members noted, the country is now experiencing a huge resurgence of COVID-19 patients needing intensive care, and the existing health facilities are fast becoming overwhelmed.
And so if a state decides to take action on lockdown and it feels that yes, it will be enforced, then the state has also a right to do that. So, but what we did was to go back and still put serious restriction and then emphasize this issue of risk communication. And so first of all is continuous engagement. Otherwise, you remember that we had the lockdowns and then the effect of the lockdown, but what we saw again in ESA's protests here and there. So that was why we're not saying that measures may not reach that level, but then before we get that, let that be the last resort.
Members of the council resolved to enlarge its current COVID-19 ad hoc committee led by the governor of Delta State and further mandate the committee to urgently consider and propose additional measures to manage the current situation. Traditional, social and religious leaders are therefore urged to play their own part by promptly taking responsible and decisive actions to help stop the spread and upsurge of the virus in Nigeria.
Act of the abductors as not only criminal and lawless, but a deliberate attempt to sow seeds of fear in people. The members, while supporting immediate steps already taken by the federal government and state governments to rescue the boys, urge for a more effective collaboration between security agencies and the communities to ensure that such despicable acts do not repeat itself anywhere in the country.
Members of the National Economic Council also commiserated with families of the Kankara school boys who were abducted in Katsina State, while also consoling with the entire people and government of the state. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
All right, thank you very much, Jide. And this is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Still ahead. The meeting between Northern traditional rulers and Northern
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly, with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Many thanks for being with us on the news. You recall I told you earlier that all 344 rescue students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, have now arrived Government House, Katsina State. They are looking dirty, but in good condition. All right, so there's the 344 rescued students of Government Secondary School, Kankara. They just arrived the Government House, Katsina, this morning. They appear to be looking a bit unkept, but however, in good condition. Meanwhile, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says that there is a growing number of cases requiring hospitalization and use of ventilators nationwide, while warning Nigerians experiencing symptoms to stay away from the public and self-isolate. Mitari Ipen reports on Thursday's briefing by the task force.
For the first time since March, the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, is absent at the national briefing. This follows his decision to self-isolate and monitor the national briefing after some members of his family tested positive for COVID-19, even though he and his wife tested negative. Minister of Aviation, Hadis Irika, who stood in for the PTF chairman, says the country is in a difficult phase of COVID-19 resurgence.
Lives have been lost, still being lost, but we must slow down the pace of the spread.
If we include those who are in hospital with severe symptoms for being observed, the need for more hospital beds will become acute. And this is an indication of what the second wave is.
If you have symptoms of COVID, please do not enter a public transport. Please do not come into office. One of the commonest symptoms we have been seeing is that of a loss of smell. So if you cannot smell your perfume and you've had a cold, then you probably need to have a test done.
The PTF notes that the current surge in cases calls for attitudinal change among Nigerians and the need to intensify protective measures.
Every gathering has a leader, every office has a leader, every church has a leader, every restaurant has an owner. It is really the responsibility of these leaders to ensure that these non-pharmaceutical interventions that we've been talking about are implemented.
In the coming days, some major decisions will be made public by the task force in consultation with President Buhari, to slow down community transmission of COVID-19. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And in view of a recent spike in COVID-19, the Federal Ministry of Environment is upscaling the contamination of target areas by contained spreading of the virus. Onegie Fineface tells us more.
Plateau State Governor Simon Bakola Long and Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Gary Barbari, are among many Nigerians who have tested positive to COVID-19 in the second wave of the virus. Nigeria also recorded its highest daily infection of 930 cases this Wednesday. Concerned about this recent spike in cases, the Federal Ministry of Environment is revamping its strategy of decontamination of public places.
In the whole, maintenance of sterility of premises, containment, dwellings, offices is the main objective of the Ministry's decontamination, disinfection intervention in order for their users to be safeguarded from letting the virus and other microbes into their systems. It is once more necessary to re-echo the need for Nigerian citizens to adhere strictly to the provisions of the COVID-19 control protocol as the main barrier of the virus spread.
The ministry wants Nigerians to take non-pharmaceutical preventive measures more seriously, insisting that only licensed environmental health officers should be engaged for decontamination exercises. In Abuja, Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
Members of the Committee on the Roles of Traditional Rulers in Governance rose from their meeting in Abuja with a resolve to come up with an acceptable template that will design a constitutional role for them. The Aguma of Basa, Turunku Chiefdom, David Wadi Tukura, disclosed this shortly after their meeting in Abuja. Anthony Folsom reports.
The committee under the auspices of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council has Justice C.D. Bagye Mohammed as its chairman and 9 others as members, including Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed. Its mandate, among other things, is to look into ways traditional rulers can be brought into governance to stabilize the polity.
As you all know, we are facing many challenges, and we're working together with the critical stakeholders, the federal government, the state governments, the local governments, in ensuring that the Nigerian polity is given greater stability in light of the many existential challenges facing us right now. But more importantly, a role in the security architecture of Nigeria to ensure that we do not experience the intelligence hiccups that create the failures that make actions either too late or ineffective.
Debunking the notion that the committee was set up in the aftermath of the Kankara abduction, the Aguma of Basa pointed out that the committee has been in existence before last week's incident, a move that explains their proactive disposition.
This shows you that people have not been sleeping. Brains have been stormed to look for new ways of looking at these issues. We are trying to think outside the box, because this is a time for creative thinking. We cannot be doing the same thing in the same old ways and expect new results. The purpose of this meeting is to look for new ways of doing new things in better ways.
In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives is seeking alteration to some constitutional provisions pertaining to election of candidates to the offices of the President and state governors. The alteration seeks to address a defect in the Constitution in order to enable elected presidents and governors to retain their seats in circumstances where their running mates are found to have defects in submitted documents and qualifications. National Assembly correspondent Lamiali reports.
While debating the general principles of the bill, House members pointed out that it is inconsistent and illogical for an elected president or governor to lose the seat as a result of perjury or forgery by his running mate.
We recently had an experience in one of the states where a candidate for governorship lost his ticket on the basis only of the fact that there was a defect in the documents submitted by his deputy.
The bill passed second reading and was referred to the Constitution Review Committee. Also referred to the Constitution Review Committee is the bill seeking to alter Section 215, which deals with recruitment of police constables and cadets, sponsored by Representative Yusuf Gagdi.
Section B is introduced to the bill that the responsibility for the recruitment of recruit constable into the Nigerian police and recruit cadet into the Nigerian Police Academy shall be the duty of the Inspector General of Police.
House members during plenary passed a resolution to investigate alleged killing of 2 men by police personnel in Aguta local government area of Anambra State, as moved by Representative Chinedu Oga. The lawmakers adopted a motion from Representative Bukar Gana urging the federal government to put in place a mechanism of evacuating Nigerians taking refuge in Niger Republic following an attack at the camp sheltering the refugees in the far region, which left scores dead.
If urgent steps are not taken by the federal government, more people may also lose their lives, most importantly, the vulnerable ones and the elderly.
The House approved the report of the Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission's budget of 453.2 billion naira for the year ending March 31st, 2021. At the commencement of plenary, Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila announced the defection of Representative Sam Onuigbo from PDP to APC. Plenary was adjourned to Monday, December 21st. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
This news at 10 is reaching you on NTA News 24. Still ahead. Sustainable Survey Coordination for Nigeria underway as Surveyor General interacts with security agencies.
You cannot import sugar from elsewhere and say you want to export it to Nigeria. It is not coming from you. It must be something that you manufacture in your own country.
All our social media platforms, Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. All visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
I am Elizabeth Abai. I am here to talk about facts. There is so much misinformation and distortion out there, especially on the social media. All it takes is just a click and the fake news goes viral. However, here in NTA, we deal with facts.
My job is to go out there and comb for factual news and information, just the way it is, all in the interest of the nation. I'm Naja Atutijani.
Here on the NCA, we present only the facts, verified. Beware of fake news, don't be a victim. Stay tuned to the NCA.
Especially at this time of the coronavirus pandemic.
My name is Nnamdi Ojipo.
Anybody who is exposed can contract coronavirus, but not everybody has a fair chance of surviving the disease. Data has shown that older persons stand a higher risk of dying. Are you 55 years and above? Do you have pre-existing health conditions? Please safeguard yourself and minimize your risk. Observe all COVID-19 protocols.
If you hear of anyone with high fever, dry cough, and difficulty in breathing, please do not go near such a person because they could be a victim of coronavirus infection. Call someone else or the NCDC to assist. Please use your prescribed medications regularly. Exercise around your home and eat well so that you can remain healthy and strong. For an older adult, to beat coronavirus is not to contract it at all.
This message is brought to you by Gerontology Association of Nigeria, the Geriatrics Association of Nigeria, and Dave Mokoro Foundation in conjunction with the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
is the network service of the NTA.
Hello out there, you know what time it is. It is another edition of your favorite program, The Diaspora, and I am here to bring you juicy and informative stories. Trust me, it is indeed unmissable. Do you know Mr. Onyema Ogwagu? He is a Nigerian American, an associate professor of medicine, and a head researcher at Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine trial at Yale University. He urges African leaders to take proactive measures when tackling health issues, especially as it relates to COVID-19. Stay tuned for more details on this. And our very own Anthony Joshua has retained his world heavyweight title in a 9th round knockout against his opponent, Kubrat Pulev. This is your favorite program, The Diaspora, and I am your host, Koinsola Adetumbi. Please stay tuned. Mr. Onyema Ogwagu, a Nigerian-American researcher and medical doctor, stressed the need for African leaders to position themselves to address the health challenges facing the continent. He gave this advice at a virtual lecture series on the topic COVID-19 vaccine, hesitancy, myths and reality, organized by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, in partnership with NGEX.
For us in the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, one of the things we've made a priority is to celebrate the best of ourselves. And tonight, Dr. Onyema, we celebrate you, we commend you. On behalf of Mr. President, I want to say thank you for all you've been doing. Now, as we're discussing some time ago, some people will say to me, why is it that you're always congratulating Nigerians who are succeeding abroad? And I said, who was doing that before? Nobody. In the past, it's all about the bad stories. It's about drugs, fraud, and all that. And then the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, which is just about a year and a few months old, came into existence in Nigeria. And we said we must change the narrative. We are not a country of fraudsters or drug dealers. We are made up of beautiful, brilliant, intelligent, hardworking, resilient Nigerians like you, Dr. Onyema. For us in the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, we will continue to work at tapping into the power of the diaspora. Our greatest asset is not about oil, it's not what we have, but it's about our people, our human resources in the diaspora. Again, people ask, would you, Dr. Onyema, have excelled if you didn't find your way to America? That is for posterity to judge. But for us is that you are there, you are in the diaspora. Nigeria must connect with you. We need to work together to build this country. Nigerians at home and Nigerians in the diaspora. Once more, on behalf of Mr. President himself and the people of Nigeria, congratulations, Dr. Onyema. We wish you many more successes ahead as we look forward to a beautiful and exciting conversation with you. Welcome everyone to this session.
And I'm just grateful for the honor you've all done me to have us address an issue that's near and dear to my heart. And I'm grateful for all the recognition and accolades and etc. So I was born in the US as an identical twin. So I have an identical twin brother who is actually in the finance industry. He's a vice president, one of the big banks in the US. His name is Chibuzo. And I was in the US at the time when my parents were initially pursuing their PhDs, and eventually my dad actually was a faculty at Yale. Both my parents are professors, and you can imagine growing up in that kind of household that they instill values in you. especially how important it is to make education your number one priority, how important it was to study and try to set yourself apart as early as primary school. So I owe a lot to my parents, Professor Chibuzo and Professor Stella Obuago, who promised to attend this if they will. Then I moved to Nigeria when I was 5 years old. So I do owe a lot of my early upbringing and early schooling and training to Nigeria. Many times when I look back at my background and my success in my medical career, I think I owe a lot to just the training I had in the University of Calabar. When I graduated, I moved to the US to do my specialty and subspecialty training. I did my primary care and internal medicine residency in the Mount Sinai School of Medicine program at Elmhurst Hospital in New York City. And then also after my residency, I was elected to be chief resident, which I appreciated that honor, and then went on to Yale to do my infectious disease training.
Onyema, it's excellent work you've been doing. I think the Pfizer vaccine trumps it all at the moment anyway, apart from the issue of the nature of the storage. But in terms of efficacy and in terms of cost effectiveness as well, it's been a real crucial break. The first question I have for you is the issue of fake news and the huge issue of vaccine. What would I call it? The lack of acceptance of vaccine or the hesitancy in accepting vaccine. What do you think is the weakness in the ability of science to really put forward that information in terms of exactly how the mechanism is and put out, get rid of those fears when it comes to the issue of messenger RNA vaccines or new methods of eliciting immune response in the body?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very great question. I think that the issue of vaccine hesitancy is not new. It's been an issue that's plagued us for a long time. In fact, I think the WHO at some point had listed vaccine hesitancy as one of the 10 greatest threats to global health. And I think if we just think about historically the role that vaccines have played with either eradicating diseases, near eradicating diseases, and even the year-to-year advantages, there have always been individuals that have been concerned about what vaccines are. There's a lot of misconceptions around the harms or the potential harms that vaccines cause. And specifically for COVID-19 vaccines, I think that one of the concerns has certainly been about the accelerated process or timelines. So I want to flag vaccine hesitancy as a serious threat for us. The punchline I would say is that, thinking about COVID-19, I think with vaccines, I think that would be the one public health approach that really holds the greatest promise. We can wear masks and social distance, but we know how difficult it is to maintain some of that for a long period of time. And those don't really get rid of the disease itself. I think that the vaccine would be that tool that would be the final nail in the coffin, if you will, for COVID-19. So we have a solution to the problem. Let's not introduce problems to the solution. First of all, I just want to remind everyone that the reason why it was really we're able to proceed this fast with the vaccine studies is because a lot of work had been done even prior to the COVID pandemic.